Hi everyone. In this video, we will calculate a confidence interval for a population with mean and standard deviation unknown. Suppose nurses at a hospice care facility find the time of pain relief for patients with terminal illnesses provided by a new palliative medication are normally distributed with an unknown mean and standard deviation. A random sample of 40 patients is collected and the sample mean of pain relief is 6 hours with a sample standard deviation of 90 minutes. Find a 90% confidence interval estimate for the population mean time using the student's t-distribution and a calculator. Then find the margin of error. Let's read through the problem again and highlight the things that were given to us. We were told that the data is normally distributed and that we have an unknown mean and standard deviation. This tells us that we can go ahead and move forward with a t-distribution. The next thing we were told is that we have a random sample of 40 patients. This means that n is 40. The next thing we were told is that the sample mean is 6 hours. So we can write down the sample mean, which is x bar, and this is 6 hours. The next item of information we were given is that the sample standard deviation is 90 minutes. Before we put down that the sample standard deviation is 90, we need to make sure that our units match. The sample mean is 6 hours, and the sample standard deviation is given in minutes. So let's go ahead and change this to hours. 90 minutes is 1.5 hours, so let's write down 1.5 hours for our sample standard deviation. 1.5 hours. Lastly, we were asked to find a 90% confidence interval to estimate the population mean time using the t-distribution, and then we were asked to find the margin of error. So let's go ahead and write down the things that we need. We were asked to find the confidence interval, and let's go ahead and write this out so that we know we're finding an interval, and then we will find the margin of error. To find the confidence interval, we'll use our calculator, and to find this, we will go to Stat, and then arrow over to Tests. The t-interval is number 8, and we can arrow down to it or just press 8. We don't have the original data, but we do have the stats. So let's go ahead and enter in our mean, which we found is 6 hours. We also have a sample standard deviation, which is 1.5 hours. And we have a sample size of 40 patients. So we'll type in 40. And lastly, we were told to find this as a confidence level of 90. And since this is already 0.9, so we can leave that. And then we will calculate, giving us a confidence interval. And let's go ahead and write this down. The confidence interval of 5.6004 to the upper limit of 6.3996. Now let's go ahead and find the margin of error. To find the margin of error, we'll need to use the confidence interval by using the upper bound, subtracting the lower bound, and dividing by 2, because the margin of error is just our wiggle room around the sample mean to hopefully capture our population mean within this interval. So let's go back to our calculator. We'll need to get to the home screen. To get to the home screen after this, we'll go to Second Quit, and then we'll have to open parentheses and type in our upper bound, which is 6.3996, then subtract the lower bound, which is 5.6004, close our parenthesis and divide by 2 will give us our margin of error, just like we did with our z-intervals. And so we can write our margin of error, which is, let's go ahead and round this out 2 decimal places, which rounds this up to 0.40. We've now found the 2 items we were asked to find, which is the confidence interval and the margin of error, and now we're all done.